So my order is T, counterplan, and PA.
T counterplan.
Okay. Propaganda, we concede that the affirmative is topical, so we drop the T on the counterplan. The People's Republic of China should increase the development on agriculture by building an IMT model of the NOA and produce any necessary technology from the United States. One counterplan is competitive to net benefit because it does not use the United States federal government or disadvantage on trade-off. It's a net benefit to the Chinese action by itself. If we win, we solve the portion of the harms. You should vote negative to avoid the least or disadvantages, and the content solves it gives China a springboard over leaderships. The Chinese government implement the program for marine development technology, the bridge gaps between China and Western marine powers. They are paying great attention to oceanic exploration, and Chinese have the technology to do the plan that's Pershing Song 12. And answer to no permutation, China won't follow the U.S. interest policy 1225. The U.S. have no strategy conflict with China. The slow preparation is air sea battles. China increasing arms strength can avoid and deny U.S. forces access to Western Pacific and disputes with its neighbors. And also, U.S.-Chinese cooperation is bad. Roche 1214, despite the economic growth into leading countries earned into merit and confidence, China was quickly to benefit from the export-led economic model. It was critically dependent on the Americans' large source of demand, and also the permutation is bad because they does not get double solvency. Their harms evidence proves that one nation doing the plan is enough to solve the counterplan solves exactly as much as the affirmative, so there's no benefit to do it twice. And also the permutation still leads to disadvantages related to the NASA trade-off. And answer to Chinese action fails. Chinese action solves the case best. Their key to global stability and U.S. interest Christian men. So on A, China has shown great initiatives in diplomacy, proving that using the rising profile institutions. China has been active existing institutions of which U.S. is a member. This helps stabilize the East Asia to benefit of all, including U.S. and East Asia essentials U.S. economy. East Asia is also an important front of on terror and region on common terror efforts. And answer to international fiat counter-interpretation. One international actor with the solvency advocates and its negative ground the advocates the entire topic would get everything outside for counterplans and other argument that's fair and best policy options. Learn analytic decision making. If we look to other countries as well as the United States, a real world organization like the UN Security Council determine which country should act all the time. And this solves infinite regressive saying Switzerland should do the plan does not exist. And they say answer to U.S. is key to agriculture. They say that U.S. is key to agriculture because they have better technology, but Chinese will produce any necessary technology from the United States, which means that China won't be behind in technology. And extend China has a better position in the United States to explore the development of oceans, have greater expertise. They develop massive amounts of resource to ocean policies for the past few years, and the ability to effectively digest data trumps American knowledge. And even if the plan is a little bit more effective than the counterplan is sufficient, good enough. We do not have to win. We solve 100% of the affirmative solving, but we do have to do enough to their impacts. And we have specific solvency evidence in context of the affirmative. Chinese agriculture is sustainable and environmentally responsible. NB SO 2010. Academics begin to cooperate with farming campaigns, disease training, prevention, health farming, and cultural good quality strains are the main interest in the region areas. And the complex competitive to its net benefit because it's not used in the United States federal government. What was that? On DA, overview uniqueness, the casting Cassini mission is barely surviving because the budget is not enough for NASA. If the NASA funding is reduced, it will go on the chopping block. That's November 2014. I think the affirmative plan spends a lot of money on sea exploration and space, and sea exploration is zero sum, meaning the government will cut NASA's budget and redo the act plan. That's Maxwell Ward 2013. Internally, if we can cut Cassini, then it will lead to decrease in American STEM leadership economy, because when the US gives up on the new technology, they lost leadership in science, technology, engineering, and math. And impact. Our magnitude on STEM's advance have immediate enormous influence in national and global economy. The world faces common threats, among them climate change, energy, water shortage, public health can be undermined by lack of scientific cooperation on STEM. And our time frame and probability, the probability is high because we're facing those issues right now. And so the time frame will be extremely quick because lack of STEM will lead to uncontrollable deaths. And our DA turns the case because the affirmative impacts our food, economy, disease, and terrorism. STEM solves economy because with STEM there will be more cooperation between countries on technology and economy. And STEM solves food because with better technology we can use less land to grow more food. And STEM solves disease because cooperation on science and technology stops disease from spreading. And STEM solves terrorism because with more STEM, US will have more leadership, which means that we can stop religious extremism. And answer to uniqueness. One, funding on Cassini is barely surviving now. Extend November 2014. The Cassini mission survived as Congress passed purpose budget for once. That's not feeling like such big. If Santa over Cassini has could be on the chopping block, and Cassini funding avoid acts thus far. All 2014 NASA is prepared to act touch hope to keep Cassini mission ongoing. Soviet have shot and has sadly recollated money. And answer to Link. They say that their plan don't spend a lot of money, but their plan spends a fair amount of money. Government spending on space and sea exploration is zero sum. Maxwell 2013 says the typical American believes that NASA is eating a significant portion of federal budgets. This shows that they're actually spending a lot of money and it is zero sum. So even if they only spend one USD on the ocean thing, it will take away one USD from the NASA. And also they were encouraged saying that it's not going to happen soon. It's not going to happen soon. It's going to happen 2015. But it's only 1 month left until 2015. And also, cut gold rolls 4 straight off, saying 2011. The new cut gold requirement prohibits the House from considering any bill process and then increase the mandatory spending within 1 year, 5 year, 10 year budget windows. If the bill increase mandatory spending by amount, the bill must be cut budget somewhere in the same amount. And that answers to the link. And also, imperial cruise also answers to link. Outlying news for can result in NASA cuts space politics 2011. The full House approved amendment in 2011 continued resolution to transfer nearly $300 million from the NASA Justice Department. If the White House argues the NASA will have protected NASA from this cut. And to impact space leadership is critical to overall U.S. hegemony, provides intelligence, warfighting capabilities. So no space funding will result in STEM decrease. And young 2008, U.S. leadership in space provide a national advantage across the scientific, commercial, and national security. Space is one of the critical important for national intelligence and warfighting capabilities. Without improvement, the U.S. Space pyramid will endure to extend that space seeks to provide competitive national security advantage. And two,
Hey, questions?
Can you explain how Gary proves the case?
how TA beats the case,
Terms.
turns the case. Because their impact is on food, economy, disease, and terrorism, and STEM solves all those issues. So if we decrease STEM, then we can't solve those issues.
How does STEM solve
Well, because
technology?
U.S. is leading in technology on food, on growing food. So if you if STEM is reduced, then they won't have good technology. Then there won't be enough food.
Aren't there any other ways to grow food besides relying on STEM?
No, because you need technology. You need science and technology. That's the only way. So we have classes here on science.
Okay.
because it doesn't do anything. And
What do you mean?
like
Your international fiat?
because China and US cooperation is bad and China won't cooperate with US. And also like there's no point of doing the plan twice. Like there's no point of commuting when there's no benefit
What's your counter-interpretation?
for
Fiat.
one international actor with a solvency capital.
So you said US China like cooperation is like bad right now?
Yeah. No. What?
No. We're saying that China won't listen to US in terms of what their policy or development will be.
Yeah, and US China cooperation is bad.
Why? Because they have different form of government. Therefore, they have different perspective.
And they're always like competing against each other.
Therefore, it's better to have one agency or one actor doing the plan. But isn't Obama like making relations better right now? So he's not popular in his own government. How could he solve the issues with other countries? Well,
No.
I'm just kidding.
Can you spread? What are you ready?
Fish and
Oh, that's so cool.
agriculture too expensive. There's no framework.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's the? It's gonna be on pace
Okay.
and then off. Off as in.
Okay.
Oh.
That's too long.
Okay. Is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Overview agriculture too expensive. There's no framework regulatory confusion. There's no solvency and the apps can solve for food security. Even if there are enough tanks for agriculture, but increased population and high dependency on seafood consumption doesn't mean that will solve food security. The apps plan is the root cause of why there is no food security exists in the apps world, and economic benefits uncertain, disease causing extinction improbable, and historical and terrorists don't have means or motive. And the case always in terms of the case, their resource-oriented view of environment drives ecological destruction and massive worldwide inequality views. This debate in terms of terminal uniqueness, ecological collapse is inevitable in the world of the past because their endless materialism of nature leads to untenable resourcification there. They will extract every last drop of oil and build technology and factories that devastate the environment with pollution. Pollution always on magnitude because they make the earth quite literally unlivable. That's Luke, and always on probability. Their worst scenario and environmental disaster are far-fetched and near impossible to prevent. Even if there is a risk of that they happen, but seeing the dangerous effect in their managerialism, that U.S. managerialism ensure material benefits for its citizens at the expenses of the rest of the world who lives on $1 or $2 a day and spend their lives in stewardship factories exploiting resources for the app's benefit. And this is sure to continue absent the alternative that's Luke. And the alternative is meditative thoughts. When authors say that we have to resist the action binary the app proposed and live in the paradox, recognizing that this is our mood of thoughts in relation to the world that drives all the app's impacts. Only the alternative recognize that there are alternative modes of being in the world, critical of open up space to solve the app's impact. We're not proposing an alternative in the traditional sense because we don't need one. Ensuring you the status quo and their method to fix in the app has proved the link and affirmed the binary between action and inaction. They believe that only possible ways to solving the problem are either to take an action or to stop some current action. This is false. We need to recognize the paradox, and this is the mode of thinking. In fact, this that's the causing those impacts in the first place. Vote negative to negate the action in action binary as proposed. This is only recognizing that that it is false can we hope to stop calculating and inferring of micro-39. And Heidegger's work is called to thinking in a way rather than calculativity. We still believe that thinking only real purpose as a prelude to action, and think we will only person within the organizing paradox, unable to conceive ourselves as anything but paralyzed. And the perm is in servants. The link debate proves the very bias of the apt justification of war intervention in the ocean is based on environmental materialism and drives for more resources. Don't allow them to sever the fundamental justification of the planet. It makes them a moving target and makes being made impossible. Inclusion of the planet is impossible until we change the way we do environmental politics. The case is a prerequisite. Our current frames of mind ensure the endless exploitation of destruction, and there's no way they can coexist without the act coping the alternative. And grand narrative development use a science. There is no longer science. It's become a performative aim to increase the power of the dominant at all costs. Loop 03. And we can also question the motive grand narrative to those fables that do not deliver progress in either individual or society. Development continues to take place without leading a dream of incomprehensions, and science and technology have fallen under the weight of another language game in which the goal is no longer truth or programmability. And environmental development is a guide for technology, the nature and the humanization loop of 96. Anthropocentric features preoccupy individuals as transnational corporate capitalism resources the planet to generate the endless growth, becoming an absolute rationalization and exploitation. Nature becomes denatured. Their entire planet is entire built environment, a planned habitat, a wilderness preserve, and economic development or an ecological disaster. And food security is premised upon the notion that we can only control and regulate the supply of our food, leads to domination and manipulation of nature. MOV002, the nature and control of what is called our food supply. Now that that world globalization means controlling the world's food and water supply all the way from breeding and the status of our food turning into a property that can be owned and circulated for profit. They are monopolizing it, and we think of living things that are not owned as not food. Absent the alternative, going on to pursuit of hegemony entails the commodification of nature as resources that makes everything into standing reverse exploitable for maintaining U.S. status on the world states loop 96.